Yeah. Well,
Oh,
this is good.
no, no, we're live.
Oh, good.
We're live. Okay. Sorry about the delay, everyone. We've had some technical difficulties, but we are finally on the channel. I'm very excited today because I have Tarot by Janine today to talk to us a little bit about divinely guided children. Center. We are so excited to announce that Janine is going to be teaching the tarot series virtually for children ages I think we said 11 to 15. Correct me if I'm wrong.
12 to 16, I think. Yeah.
12 to 16. Yes, sorry about that. So I'm going to have Janine introduce herself and talk to you guys a little bit about her background and what she'll be offering in her class. So thank you for being here today, Janine.
Thank you, Sherri. Wonderful to be here. And I'm so excited for your classes. I had to look through what you're offering, and it's absolutely amazing that somebody's willing to offer these for the gifted kids out there. There's so many, like when I was 12, if I wasn't in the family I was in, I was a very intuitive 12-year-old, and I didn't know where to put it, what to do with it. I thought I was a weirdo. Like, but I was very intuitive, and if this would have been offered, it would have been so exciting. So it's great for the kids of today to have this available. As far as I'm concerned, children are our future, and if we're not utilizing and encouraging all of those beautiful intuitives out there, those star children or whatever, there's so many names for them. But it's so wonderful that you're offering that. But as far as my background, just in a nutshell, I was a very strange and intuitive child right from a young age. I wasn't afraid of the spirit world from a really young age. I felt really comfortable with spirit friends, and some people call them invisible friends. I happen to know that a lot of children that play with what we call invisible friends are actually playing in the spirit world with passed on energies. So it sounds crazy, but when I look back, I was playing with passed on energies, and they were my friends. And I wasn't afraid of them. And I know some people attract fearful, energy, but the experiences I had as a young child were very positive. It would have been nice to know, what to do with that, of course, right?
Yeah.
So by the time I was early 20s, I had been married and divorced by 26. Right, wow. I got married which was very silly of me, but my astrology chart would explain why I did that. Anyway, Aries rising. Okay, so anyway, and Venus in Aries, that makes us foolish and silly in love. But I got married and divorced by 26, and by 27, one of my very best friends at the time, who was really much more red-pilled, let's call it, or open-minded, you could say open-minded, than I was, and knew about things. I was brought up in a very strict Catholic family. Never felt comfortable with that, by the way. It wasn't for me. And this friend introduced me to tarot, and we ended up taking lessons together. And I didn't even know what tarot was then. And as soon as I held that deck of cards in my hand, I knew I channeled right away that was for me, and something really big was going to happen with it. And I studied under this woman for about 3 years. I think we kept taking her. She only offered a beginner class. We took it over and over. And then I started doing it just for trades, like buy me a cappuccino, buy me a coffee, and I'll read your cards, right? Just anything to practice. And we did that, my friend and I, and we practiced with each other for literally till the wee hours every night. Like we'd be up till 3 and 4 in the morning studying astrology, tarot. We got into everything. And I just got obsessed with it. It's a language, and it helps us connect with our higher self. And there's been a lot of myth around it, but I believe that's just repressing the connection with our higher self. I think I think we can look past that and understand that back in the day, that those myths were around that said tarot is evil and bad and connects you with dark spirits. I think we can look at the times then and realize you weren't even allowed to read if you were a peasant. A peasant. You weren't allowed to read. You weren't allowed to read scripture. So what is that saying? They were trying to keep wisdom out of the hands of regular folks. And you had to be initiated to dabble in anything esoteric, which we now know are good healing tools. So if they're used properly, they're to the good. And if they're used badly, of course, like any tool, you can misuse any tool. So I like to teach it to be an empowering tool for someone to connect directly to their higher self and understand how the world works, beyond just what we're seeing and what we're told. So if somebody has an inclination towards, having that deep knowing, the tool will help them understand what to do with it.
Absolutely. So you teach through the cards for people to connect to their higher self, because that's a question I get a lot from people when they're using tarot cards is, who am I communicating with and how do I know?
Yeah. So if you go in with the intention that you're drawing to you the higher universal, some people call God, some people call goddess, some people, I don't call that God or goddess. I say universal love light. So I'm connecting to what I call my higher self or my client's higher self. So the higher spiritual energy that makes us all connect together. So people would call that maybe God. Okay. So we're asking the higher universal knowing. Some people even call it the Akashic records. Some people call it, there's so many different interpretations, but what it really is your higher knowing, that voice in you that knows deeply when you connect with it, your higher self.
And so, there are millions of card decks to choose from. A decade or a little bit more than that ago, I started looking into tarot, and I, just like you, I became obsessed. And I was, someone had given me the Rider-Waite deck, which I'll have you talk about in a second. But there's the derived Rider-Waite style, I guess you would call it, that many authors have made their own versions of, so they look different. And then there are other tarot decks that have different messages through animals and spirits and things like that. What tarot decks do you prefer to work with, and what's the difference?
So I probably collected them over the years and could have even hundreds, but then I kept giving them away when they didn't work. So I never compiled them, but I tried out literally hundreds of decks, and most of them don't channel that well. Okay, so I think it has to do with the artist and the intention. So some of them are just manufactured with the idea that, I'm going to make a cool deck of cards, but I don't think they're profound or channeled. And so they look really pretty, but they literally fall dead when you try to work with them. So you need to really handle the deck and feel if it's right. And there's about 5 really good ones that I've experienced. The Handel, the German Handel, that's a beauty. There's a round deck, the Goddess Tarot, I think it is. And that's a beautiful deck, but it's very emotional and feminine. So if you're working with a client who's either really in touch with their masculine or really on the physical earth plane, and they don't want to talk about their emotions, that deck won't work. Okay. If you're talking about the stock market, that deck's not going to work. Okay, so it's very specific to emotional. So there's some really emotional decks, but the best balanced deck is still the Rider-Waite. Yeah. I actually learned on the very controversial Thoth deck, Thoth, which Aleister Crowley has his name on. But I want to remind people out there that a woman, Frida Harris, actually painted the cards, and her incredible wisdom is in those cards. And they're one of the most profound decks, but they're a little tricky because Aleister Crowley was her mentor. So he was a dark energy for sure, and he channeled a lot of demonic stuff. He likely was involved in not very good things. So there's this balance to that deck that's really, you have to be a very balanced person and very spiritually aware to use them, or they can get tricky. So, it's like having a race car that can get out of hand. If you're not haven't been trained in race car driving, that car could be a bit too much for you, right? But the safest, most absolutely, and some people would disagree because of the background of the people that made this deck, but I find the most sort of pure channeling tool is got to be, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, it is the good old fashioned Rider-Waite. It really, really works. And it's the best to teach on too. Because once somebody learns with the Rider, they can go on and find the perfect deck for them. You could read anything after that.
I completely agree, because I learned on the Rider-Waite deck, and it really helped me find the decks that I liked, and I've had some that I didn't resonate with, and I put it up on the shelf, and it's been there for years. And so I agree that that one is the best to learn from. And so what Janine is offering, which I'm really excited about, because there's a lot of young girls and boys out there that are really interested in this, and this is a great beginner's class where you can go out and have your kids purchase one of the Rider-Waite decks that calls to them, because there's a few different authors that generate them. And Janine, talk a little bit about what they'll be learning.
Well, we're going to start with just a really basic, where did tarot come from? Like, not a lot, there's a lot of opinions about that, but I'm going to just talk a little bit about the various different ideas of where it might have come from, and how it's sort of all, many decks sort of started appearing all around the same time. So that's interesting. And various different divination tools. So we're going to talk a tiny bit about what's a divination tool. That's an old-fashioned word for divining. So getting a message from spirit, divining something. And tarot is literally pretty much one of the most accurate divining tools, but there's all kinds of them. So we'll just talk a little bit about that, just touch base with. So where did it come from? And then we're going to talk about how to handle our deck and some of the ideas around it out there floating around. There's all these rules, and we're going to talk about, what's something to listen to and what isn't. I'm personally of the opinion that you should empower yourself. Go buy your own deck if you want a deck, but treat them with respect. But it's not the cards that are, doing the work. It's the person and your intention. So we'll talk about intention when you use cards. So having a good positive intention and how to keep your energy clear, so your opinion isn't coming through. You're truly channeling the right energy, because that's where all the trouble can start. If you want to channel bad energy, obviously you could with tarot, but it's like a Ouija board. You could channel weird energy that's out there, wants to be tricky. I'm going to talk about how to channel in to your higher self and make sure you clear and get the clear message you need to be getting, so you don't get into trouble. So we're going to talk a bit about that. And then we're going to learn, just basically break up the deck. There's major and minor arcana. So there's a couple parts to the deck. And we're going to talk about the difference between the major and the minor. And then we're going to so we only have 4 weeks. So then we're going to get everybody pulling their archetype. So we're going to talk about in language that 12-year-olds up to 16 can understand. Exactly. And we'll get them going home and looking up the word as well in a dictionary, archetype, or Googling it nowadays, right? Look up the word archetype. And we're going to understand, as a person this lifetime, what is our archetype according to the major arcana. There's 21 major arcana cards, and we're going to get everybody pulling their archetype. And then if we have time, we'll even get them pulling the archetype of a friend of theirs or a family member, so they can understand how does tarot talk. And then we're going to talk about all the cards they pulled. And in between each class, I'm going to send them home with a little bit of things to look up and little things they can play around with their own deck.
Yeah. Oh, this is, gosh, I wish I had you back when I was learning tarot myself, because I kind of just taught myself, and you have such a wonderful way of explaining it that's easy for young ones to understand. Even I think adults would love to. I'm sure you teach adults as well, but and this is this is a beginning level, and it's for the younger group. But Janine is likely going to offer an older group probably in April. We'll see where the older kids 17 and up will be able to participate. So this is not just for the 12 to 16. We're just going to premiere it right now for that age.
We'll see how much in demand, and we can go all the way, like anybody can take it. Like we could do a class where adults could take it, absolutely.
Absolutely. So this is just for everyone watching, you know, don't feel left out if your child is 18 or you're a parent and you want to take it. This is just the first class we're offering right now. And I can see even a parent-child class coming, and we'll be offering a variety of different ways to offer Janine's teaching. And it sounds like a really well-rounded program, 4 weeks. With opportunity for these kids to practice in between. This is such an incredible opportunity. So I'm so excited. I wanted to do a special video just on this. I mean, we're offering, I think, 38 classes right now on the website, but for some reason, I really wanted to feature yours because it's such a great opportunity for these kids. And so did you want to give them, and hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. We have Abundant Angel. She signed up for her daughter today. Thank you for signing up. Leanna would love to take the adult class. Yes, just check. I would encourage everybody to sign up for the newsletter. Go to divinelyguidedchildren.com and subscribe, and you'll get the newsletters with upcoming classes and what we're offering, because I'm adding to the website almost daily right now. And so, Janine, is there a card that maybe give everybody watching or who are not familiar, maybe we could pull a few cards so they can get an idea of what it's like. So if those that are watching are trying to say, what is this tarot card about? Maybe we could do some examples.
Sure. Let's just see what wants to channel to the audience that maybe could be helpful to somebody out there watching. Okay, so I'll just pull one. So because, you know, it's harder without a surface or whatever, I'm just going to pull it. So I'm just going to cut the deck there with that intention. Wow. Okay, that is a beautiful card. That's the number 9. There. Can we see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, there. It's so sunny here. I have to be holding it just right. Okay, that's the Hermit. So it's the major arcana, and you can tell because there's a Roman numeral and a title, and that's how you tell the difference between a major and a minor arcana. Will either just have a title or just a number. But when they have both, that's a major arcana. And the nickname for major arcana are the trump cards, which is interesting. But anyway, trump. Yeah, the trump cards. So they're the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Right? So they're the more spiritual cards, and they're also the more archetypal. So if you want to understand somebody's archetype in situations, because we have lots of archetypes, like as a teacher, my archetype is a certain thing. I'm a certain style. As a partner in a relationship, I'm totally different. As a mother, I'm going to be a different archetype, right? We wear different hats for different occasions, right? So anyway, this card came up. So somebody needs to hear that they need to understand how deeply connected they are. And even without trying, they shine a light for others, because the Hermit doesn't even try to be a teacher. They're naturally a teacher. So there's someone who people notice and people listen to and even look up to, and could even be guided by that person's actions. It means the person's a very old soul if they got this as an archetype, or they could, if it's badly aspected, and that's a whole different ball game. Aspecting in tarot is the most important thing to learn because it could change everything. Anyway, so if this was badly aspected, it could just mean somebody who spends too much time alone and doesn't connect with others and is a bit of a loner and maybe even isolates and is lonely. Okay, so that puts in, there's always there's the one side to a card and then the other. And some people read them reverse. I don't read them reverse. I read them how they aspect the other cards. Okay, but if this is well aspected, and I got the feeling it wants to say that there's a whole lot of old souls watching. And maybe even like just your general audience, Sherri, might be real old souls. Okay, just naturally gravitating towards a channel like yours, and also a learning like what you're offering in your classes. You'd have to be an old soul to really understand a lot of your classes, frankly. right? So
Yeah.
the card is to honor that old soul in you. You've been lifetimes on the earth plane, and you're deeply connected, even if you don't see it yourself. And you shine a light for others, and make sure you sort of honor that in yourself.
Wow, that's awesome. Before you pull another one of the audience members is asking. Her son is 10. So what's the age group? If he's interested, should he wait, or is 10 too young? What's your thoughts on that?
Sherri, I'm going to say you should decide, since it's your classes. We had to just keep it in a range,
Yeah.
right? So I'm thinking if somebody thinks their 10-year-old is mature enough to be on a chat online with up to 16-year-olds, okay, and of course we're going to keep language appropriate, and we're not going to talk about things that 12-year-olds couldn't talk about. So if you think you have a very mature 10-year-old, I think that could be worth looking into having in the class, absolutely. But it would depend on the parent and what their thoughts are, right? And
Yeah.
it would depend on you, Sherri, because at some point we might have so many people trying to get in that we have to make another class for.
Yeah. No, I
right?
mean, I'm completely open to it, and its age is really hard to determine sometimes, because there are some children that are just so much more interested and really are mature enough to handle it, because the writer, it takes a lot of focus and understanding, and it's a commitment. And so if a 10-year-old is open to it, I would say let's absolutely let them in. Maybe perhaps that's something we can address later, where we break up the classes. I encourage anybody to reach out to me if they really want their kid involved. Go ahead. Sorry.
I pulled another one. I pulled the Empress. So the Empress is a 3. She's also a major arcana. You've got the Roman numeral at the top and then the title below. The Empress is about, so it depends on what you're asking about. Like if a person was asking about their money situation in the next year and the Empress comes up, if you notice, she's got all kinds of wheat all around her. And these were drawn, I believe, in the between the 14 and the 1600s. So this deck, of course, wasn't drawn. It was drawn a couple hundred years ago, but they are taken from drawings from the 1400s. Okay, so you think about the 1400s, what did wheat mean? So you were abundant if you had wheat and it was growing, you're abundant. So there's abundance. She's also sitting very comfortably on cushions, and there's the symbol of Venus on one of her cushions. And Venus astrologically is about beauty, and it's about comfort and luxury, right? So there's something comforting, beautiful. So she's considered, if it's talking about a person coming into somebody's life, the person could be nurturing, comforting, and beautiful, and even maybe physically beautiful to you. Or it could be somebody's mother, because it's the number 3, which is, she's the Empress. She's known as the mother of the deck. She even looks pregnant. She's possibly pregnant. So if somebody was asking about pregnancy in the next year, this card comes up and it's well aspected. She's likely going to be a mother, if that's somebody's asking about that. If it's just someone saying, where do all my fears come from? And this card comes up, somebody's mother. So maybe they got those fears passed down from their mother, or their experience with their family, their original family, right? Or they have fears around becoming a parent. They fear other people nurturing them is fearful. Like there's so many, you have to really look at what's being asked, what's the question, and where does the card come in the layout? Because it's like a language, and it doesn't just mean one thing, which a lot of people think it does. No, it doesn't just mean, if this is badly aspected, it could even talk about somebody's nurturing, and their loveliness could be sort of a deceptive tool, right? But that would be next to the devil or some other card. And by the way, the devil, people are afraid of that card, but there's so many ways you can read the devil. It's mostly about fears and things are human, the things about human, the life being a human, that are hard to understand and tricky, right? The trickiness of being a human. So it's not always a terrible, evil card, although It could be. It just depends on what did you ask, who asked it, and what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like reading tarot is such an art form. You really have to understand the cards, and there are so many different ways to interpret, and it really has a lot to do with what the person is asking and what's going on with their life. You know, I used to get the Empress card every single time I've been pregnant, which is only 3 times, but I would always pull the Empress card. So for me, it was clear what that was about. But for someone else, like you said, it could have multiple other meanings. And so that's why this class is so important, because it really you're going to teach these kids how to decipher and understand the different meanings of the cards. And it's not just one meaning per card, which is really well-rounded.
And then let's pull a minor arcana. And this is a difficult looking card because it's important to know what they stand for. So there's 9 wands here. And if you look at the guy, he looks like he's been through a war, and he's on his last, I know it's really sunny, so he's on his last legs here. Like he looks like he's kind of beat up, and he's looking like, oh, I'm so tired out, right? So it's about, if you're asking about a situation, it's almost over because it's a 9. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's a minor arcana, so it's not necessarily so spiritual, this card. It's more earth plane stuff, okay? So you might literally be really tired and need a rest. You might literally be in the 11th hour of something. So you're almost finished the process. It's been really hard, but you still got a tiny bit to go because it's not a 10 yet. If it's a 10, game over. You got to stop doing what you're doing. But this card could be about pulling an all-nighter to finish something at school. Just giving it one more little push. If it's advice, it says you can do this, but you're almost out of juice.
Yeah.
Right? Or if it's asking a question like, when's this going to happen? Not till the 11th hour. This card's hard. You will do a lot of hard work before the thing happens, right? Then you have to pull another card to see how does it end, right? How does it come out, right?
Yeah.
So this card is just details, more details. Minor arcanas help fill in the details and help us understand. Major arcanas are the big sort of destiny cards. And once a major arcana is in play in a reading, the thing's already been created somehow. Okay, so it's kind of like people call that destiny. But I believe we create our destiny by thinking, visualizing, intending, and the energy we put out, maybe even for years ahead of time, and we call to us things, and then they happen. And that's when the major arcana show up. They're like, okay, this is, even if it's the whole world that called something to them. Like when a big change comes to the whole world, somehow it was co-created by sort of mankind, maybe. So there's that kind of destiny, and then there's personal destinies that are in play. But we have a lot of say in those, in a way, by our behavior and what we intend, visualize, and what we vibrate to, what we put out, what we speak about, how we think. All of that's up to us to decide how we want to be, because energy's vibrational. Like, so what you think and speak is vibrational, and it attracts things. And that's when major arcanas will show up, when you've attracted something. Like in your case, pregnancies.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Empress shows up.
Yeah.
So
can we pull it? Maybe we could pull a quick card for just the center overall, like the theme of it, or whatever comes up regarding this new children's center.
Okay. I'm going to pull it on your behalf, so I'm going to channel you. Is that okay, Sherri?
Yes.
Okay. If I have somebody's permission, I channel them. Or I just ask their spirit self, like I just ask for the greater good to channel a certain situation. And I do that like automatically. I don't actually speak it out or anything, because I've been doing what I do for 35 years daily. So yeah, you just have to have good intentions when you decide to, that you're channeling for the good.
Right.
If you just agree to that, that's what happens, right?
Absolutely.
Sherri Center. Oh my goodness, Sherri, look at that. That's the Lovers. Okay, now the Lovers is a 6, so we have to go with the numerology of the card as well. Numerology is really good to study if you're going to be a real serious card reader. you should study astrology and numerology alongside tarot. If you really want to be a reader for a living, and I've studied them all, and absolutely they make you a better reader. Okay. You know, if you want to be serious about it. Now, the lovers, because we didn't ask about a relationship, we're asking about your school. It means a totally different thing than you think the card means. So the lovers is about balance. If you look at the card, everything's really balanced. There's two people. There's a masculine and a feminine. And there's sort of an angelic, so it looks like an angel in the background because the creature has wings. So it means of a higher purpose. So balance. So there's something about your school that helps people balance somehow. So I don't know, some of the classes you have there could help people come to a personal inner balance, maybe. It's also, there's no like it feels like it's very fair to both sexes. So both feminine and masculine, and helps people honor their feminine and masculine, maybe inside them, because everybody's both to varying degrees. So there's a sense of balance in that way as well. There's a fairness. So sixes are all about fairness and justice, actually, and karmic balance and justice. So I feel like there's a real sense of people come to you because they're meant to. That's the whole karmic thing. You're drawn to something because you're meant to. You're drawn to it because spirit world led you there. That's how I ended up reading tarot. And there's a sense of fairness. So your classes are going to treat people fairly. And there's also a sense of kindness with sixes. There's kindness, fairness, and equality offered here. So people aren't going to be bullied, and they're not going to feel left out.
Wow. Well, that all sounds really great, and it all sounds like things that I would want to bring forward. So thank you.
And it could also be karmically correct for you to be doing this. So it feels like you're in the right spot, and or what you're offering is spiritually inspired.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Wow. Thank you. Well, I think we covered the tarot class pretty well. So for those of you just joining, Janine will be offering, it's a 4-week class, 1 hour once a week. And this is just the premiere. So we'll be likely be offering more classes as the months come, and more advanced classes, and we'll include the parents as well. Real quickly before we get off, I wanted to also just let everybody know that Janine will likely be offering an astrology class coming in the spring. Is there anything you want to say?
Super beginner.
A beginner.
Absolutely beginner, yeah. But it's so important because astrology could take lifetimes to really learn, but you got to start somewhere, and I'm really good at the very beginning level of it. So that's what I want to help everybody with, just so they can feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I want to take your kids' class. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And we have a lot of exciting classes to come. And so I'm so happy, Janine, for you to be a part of this. And I think the kids are going to love hearing from you.
Whoops, sorry.
That's okay. So we could just wrap it up here. I know you're a busy lady. I just wanted everyone to have a chance to meet you, for those people on my channel that may not know about who you are. So hopefully this video helps. And thank you, Janine. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that we need to for your classes? Make sure that the kids please have your Rider-Waite deck purchased ahead of time. Is there anything else they need?
An open mind and a good sense of humor.
All right. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Janine, for joining me here today. I really appreciate your time. And thank you to all of you guys that have left comments and that have watched this video. We will be bringing more classes as the weeks come. So please check out the website, divinelyguidedchildren.com. I also have Janine's information in the description. If anyone wants to get a hold of her, her website and her YouTube channel is in the description. Janine also does tarot readings, so check her out and reach out to her if you want to have a reading done.
I retired from reading, personal reading, just for the next couple of years. I'm taking them off because I feel like the world needs my world view readings right now through my my channels, 2 channels, and then I think the people that I'm going to be teaching might need some focus too. So I have to sort of, yeah, because I read personal readings for 35 years. So I'm really happy for the diversion, frankly.
Well, then you guys can check Janine out on her 2 YouTube channels and hear her group readings, because she has some really great topics. So check that out. Thank you, everybody, and until next time, thanks, everybody.